The NFL, Hannah, after a 6-11 finish to the 2024 season, the San Francisco 49ers have already made significant changes to the coaching staff, with more coming to the roster. So what does that mean for the Niners and Brock Purdy? Nick Wagner unpacking the interesting set of contract decisions San Francisco must make this offseason to get back on the road to contender status.
After failing to make the playoffs for the first time since 2020, the 49ers head into a pivotal offseason where quarterback Brock Purdy's contract extension remains the first order of business.
What we know about Brock is that he's our guy.
I plan on being with Brock here the whole time I'm here, and I know he's capable of getting the Niners Super Bowl in the future.
What a play by Brock Purdy.
Purdy has said he'd like to get something done sooner than later so he can be back with his guys in time for the offseason program in April. The size of his deal could determine just how many of those guys return. General Manager John Lynch has already said the team will release defensive tackle Javon Hargrave with the post-June 1st designation to create salary cap room. Receiver Deebo Samuel has requested a trade and also looks to be on the way out. What's more, contract adjustments for the likes of tight end George Kittle and linebacker Fred Warner could create additional financial space. And the 49ers have about 24 unrestricted free agents, many of whom they'd like to keep. Purdy says he doesn't want any kind of drama associated with anything, and that he wants to help the team with other players who need deals. However, that doesn't mean he will offer a substantial hometown discount.
As we stay tuned on that, we now open up the Fowler Files with senior NFL writer Jeremy Fowler, and apparently NFL analyst Mike Tannenbaum has a folder within the files, so he will be joining us as well. Let's talk Deebo. What are you hearing?
So Deebo Samuel, I'm told from a source that there have been several teams that have some preliminary interest. Now, where that goes is still uncertain. Those teams could try to wait out the 49ers, see if they eventually release him. The key is the option bonus, about $15 million due to him on March 22nd. So the 49ers do have time. He's got 1 year left on his deal. A new team could rework a contract potentially as part of a trade to facilitate things. I'm told it has not got that far yet. So combine next week, things should heat up a little bit when parties can talk in person. Keep in mind, the 49ers have a lot of business to do. They got Brock Purdy, as Nick Wagner mentioned. They can try to re-sign George Kittle as well. So they want to get this done in the next couple of weeks. They can move on to the bigger business.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Purdy is key, front and center, but who should be having some chats with John Lynch? Who should be dialing him up or meeting him for a late-night hamburger there in Indy, Mikey T, regarding Deebo?
Hannah, the Los Angeles Chargers, if we go back a year ago, they had all these salary cap issues themselves, and they moved on from Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. They hit big on Ladd McConkey. Quentin Johnston, their first-round pick the year before, was better, but boy, what an ideal fit Deebo Samuel would be with Justin Herbert. You know, for his career, he's averaged roughly about 9 yards after catch, and that's exactly what Justin Herbert needs. When you run the ball the way the Chargers want to, they need somebody that can be productive with short passes, who's productive run after the catch, and Deebo Samuel would be an ideal fit with them.
Yeah, they were 19th in total passing offense last season. All right, let's stay in the West. Some questions. Obviously, we've been talking about it nonstop. Matthew Stafford's future under contract through 2026. That cap hit is just under $50 million, as you've been reporting. So what are you hearing there?
Yeah, Hannah, the people I've talked to with the Rams believe that they want to keep Matthew Stafford. They want to work out a new contract. They know that they would have to figure out something. He's due $27 million in cash this year. He is underpaid as still one of the top 5 to 7 quarterbacks in the league. So they have to work something out. But the belief league-wide is that the Rams will have a threshold and a limit as to how far they'll go with that money. He's in his late 30s, some durability questions. So they're going to have to try to find a sweet spot. If they can't, then teams are interested. Certainly you have teams out there, several teams that need a quarterback, whether it's the Raiders, the New York Giants, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, this is something that a lot of people around the league are monitoring to see if the Rams can pull this off. But cooler heads could prevail. When I talk to people with the Rams, they do feel like right now that Stafford will be back. But something has to get done with the contract. That's
it almost feels like the first domino to fall in terms of where some of these free agents are going to go and this like quarterback carousel that we're in right now. Mikey T, what do you think the Rams should do here?
I think the sweet spot's around $50 million a year. I agree with Jeremy, Hannah. He is underpaid. You look at Kirk Cousins at roughly $45 million a year. I think it has to be north of that. If I'm the Rams, I do try to hold the line and say I'm not going to $60 million at the top end of the market because, as Jeremy alluded to, because of age and durability. But he played really good. If we go back to last year, they were 20 yards away from being the Eagles, by far the most competitive team the Eagles played in the postseason were the Rams. So I do try to find that sweet spot, roughly around $50 million a year. Both sides can claim victory. Stafford gets a raise. The Rams hold the line. And with all those good young defensive players, if I'm the Rams, run it back.
Yeah, and listen, if you have good young players on defense, you can afford to spend some money on offense, can't you? They have about $37 million in cap space right now in the middle of the pack. I like this nice fat Fowler files with the folder here from Mikey T.
It's well stocked with Mike T when he comes in for sure.
Exactly. Good stuff from both you guys. Thank you. Detroit Lions fell short of their Super Bowl dreams, but a sight for sore eyes this week when star Aiden Hutchinson was back working out almost 4 months after suffering a broken tibia and fibula, which ended his season in mid-October. Hutchinson acknowledged the significant changes upcoming in the coaching staff, certainly an expected byproduct of the Lions' success. But he said, as long as we have the right guys in the locker room, you can roll anyone in there and call the plays. For more on that, here's Lions reporter Eric Woodyard.
In the aftermath of their shocking home loss as the NFC's #1 seed to the Commanders, Detroit Lions head coach Dan Campbell's star-studded coaching staff took a major hit. Former defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn is now the head coach of the New York Jets and hired away passing game coordinator Tanner Engstrand. Former offensive coordinator Ben Johnson is now the head coach of the Chicago Bears, taking with him receivers coach Antoine Randall and quarterback assistant coach J.T. Barrett. Oh, and former defensive line coach Terrell Williams has also accepted a defensive coordinator position for the New England Patriots. But even with all those changes, Lions general manager Brad Holmes remains confident that Detroit's championship window hasn't closed just yet. Why? Because they still have Dan Campbell and the foundation set to make another strong run next season.
I just think that all the pieces are in place, that I don't really feel walls closing in.
For offensive coordinator, the Lions brought back former assistant John Morton, who was the Broncos' pass coordinator for the previous 2 seasons, while Campbell maintained continuity by promoting former linebackers coach Kelvin Shepard to replace Glenn as the new defensive coordinator.
Wow, that's a whole lot of changes as we open up the Fowler Files with senior NFL writer Jeremy Fowler and NFL analyst Mike Tannenbaum, who has a folder in the. I hope you're charging him for that folder in your files.
$9.99.
There you go, and make him pay for it too early. Okay, Jeremy, starting with you, what's one area the Lions could be looking to address this offseason?
Well, edge rusher Jay is on their radar. They were really depleted there last year. They traded for Zadarius Smith, who's got $11 million on the books in 2025. They have to decide on his future, but they certainly could look for reinforcements either in the draft, free agency, or a splash trade. This is a pass rush explosion league-wide. You got guys like Myles Garrett wanting a trade. You know, could Max Crosby or Trey Hendrickson be moved? Those are big names that need new contracts. Eventually, they're going to be really big. So will the Lions try to make some sort of move like that? It would probably require multiple first-round picks to get a top talent like a Myles Garrett, who is a hard no from the Cleveland Browns, by the way. They still have no plans to trade him. So we'll see how far they go, but they're going to address that position in some form. Also, Kevin Zeitler, their guard, free agent. There's mutual interest in bringing him back.
All right, I know you said Cleveland said no, but we're going to talk about Myles Garrett because, Mike, I want you to listen to what Aiden Hutchinson had to say about the possibility of the Lions trading for Garrett.
We were just talking about what could be, you know, and although it's probably unlikely, I think I would be thrilled to play next to him if it were to happen. But our whole D-line would be totally elevated. That'd be a scary defensive line. And we get along too. I think I've seen him these last few years at different things. He texted me after I got hurt, which I don't know, it was just a cool thing. Like guys outside of your own team who reach out to you, I think. So I think he's a good dude. And if he does, great. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But that would be awesome.
And that's the cool part about the brotherhood. It really is. Okay, Mike, Aiden's like, you know, it's not that much of a possibility. Jeremy's already said the Browns have said no. How realistic is Myles Garrett to Detroit, in your opinion?
Well, initially, maybe not, Jay, but if at some point Cleveland believes that Myles Garrett would retire, not go back, then it becomes very realistic because I really believe Detroit is in the one player away sort of window right now to try to go win. And if I'm Brad Holmes and the Detroit Lions, I get the Browns on the phone and I don't hang up. I am not negotiating. I am paying the bill because if you have Zadarius Smith, a healthy Aiden Hutchinson, and a Hall of Famer in Myles Garrett, all of a sudden your pass rush goes from a question mark to a strength with a very potent offense. So if I'm Detroit, I am hanging around the rim and doing everything within reason and then some to try to make this happen. But again, it all starts with, does Cleveland at some point believe that Myles Garrett would retire and not play? And sometimes you just have to be patient to let that play out.
Definitely a situation to keep an eye on. Okay, staying in the NFC North, talking about the Vikings right now. Sam Darnold likely to become a free agent. Minnesota also has J.J. McCarthy returning from injury. Yep. Jeremy, what are you hearing about the Vikings' approach at quarterback this offseason?
Yeah, to use Mike T's phrase, which I love, the Vikings are hanging around the rim with Sam Darnold. They're weighing the option potentially. I'm told that they are open to him coming back on a new deal. You know, talking to people around the league with other teams, they are skeptical that the Vikings would go the franchise tag route right now because you're looking at close to $40 million on a one-year deal, which maybe that could facilitate a tag and trade, but that's high coin for a player that is going to get a nice, robust market, but maybe not that high. So we'll see how that shakes out. But all options are on the table for Minnesota. But what was clear to me is that J.J. McCarthy will be the franchise quarterback. They have no plans to trade him. It just depends on whether that's 6 months from now, 12 months, 18 months. And watch for Daniel Jones. He was on the roster last year. He'd be a cheaper alternative to Sam Darnold. Could be some interest there to bring him back.
Okay, Mike, if you're the Vikings, how would you approach this quarterback situation?
Jay, sign Sam Darnold. I know the last 2 games didn't go great. That's been well documented. But what a season he had with Kevin O'Connell. And when you have a young, productive quarterback, do not let them leave. Look, they may have to overpay, to Jeremy's point, because the franchise tag is always, a tough challenge around quarterback negotiations. But if you're coming out of this and we're sitting here in August with 2 great young quarterbacks and Sam Darnold and the potential J.J. McCarthy, that's a great position to be in. 1, you can't have enough depth. And then 2, maybe somebody makes you an offer you can't refuse for McCarthy. So to me, a position of strength at the quarterback position is a great place to start the offseason if you're the Vikings.
All right. The NFL is 24/7, 360.
The NFL is once again on fire with moves that shake up the league and create high expectations for the upcoming season. Deebo Samuel requests a trade. The star wide receiver of the San Francisco 49ers, Deebo Samuel, has officially requested to be traded to another team. Sources close to the organization indicate that the decision stems from contract disputes and a desire to explore new opportunities. Samuel, a key piece in the explosive 49ers offense, could change the course of any team that manages to acquire his services. Will we see a bidding war for the dynamic playmaker? Lions strengthen their defense with an edge rusher. Detroit continues to make strong moves in rebuilding its team and has added a new pass rusher to its roster. With an improving defense, the Lions are looking to establish themselves as contenders in the NFC North, although the player's name has not yet been revealed. Sources indicate that this is a high-impact addition that will elevate the level of the team's defensive line. Sam Darnold secures a new contract. Quarterback Sam Darnold has secured his future with a new contract, though the exact terms of the deal remain unknown. After an unstable stint with the Jets and Panthers, Darnold continues to fight to prove he is what it takes to be a starting quarterback in the league. Will this be his NFL resurgence or just another chapter in his career? The NFL market continues to move, and surprises keep coming. Stay tuned for more updates on these impactful moves.